Listen closely. At times, the most significant action you can take in life is to take no action at all. It involves pulling back, finding stillness, and embracing quiet, because silence, genuine silence, is not an indicator of weakness. It is strength held in reserve. It is pain that has been refined into wisdom and discipline, and all enveloped in patience. There arrives a point in your journey when you cease pursuing people. You give up justifying yourself to individuals committed to misunderstanding you. Your attention turns inward, to your own peace, your personal growth, your true calling. You begin to grasp that not every conflict is worth your engagement. Not every slight warrants your energy, and not every person is destined for the same path as you. This is the moment the transformation starts. Have you ever been in a space filled with clamor, competing voices, swirling opinions, rising chaos, and felt an inner nudge to simply be still? That isn't a failing. That is the voice of your soul. Let them chatter, let them conjecture, let them make their assumptions. Because silence, real, purposeful silence, is a kind of strength that many will never grasp. In a culture that constantly urges you to react, to comment, to retaliate, to argue your case, silence emerges as a precious and potent form of discipline. Others may call you aloof. They might label you as cold. They will likely say you've changed, and in truth they are correct. You have changed, you've evolved. You have learned that peace is not discovered in winning debates. Peace is found in knowing your own identity so securely that it requires no announcement. That is the mark of maturity. That is authentic power. And above all, that is freedom. There is a distinct power in the individual who opts not to respond. The person who no longer senses the compulsion to explain every step, defend every action, or clarify every choice. You start to realize that not everyone merits your energy. Some individuals are merely background noise in the narrative of your life, and you are not obligated to engage with it. Holding your tongue when someone attempts to provoke you? That is power. Choosing to sidestep drama? That is growth. Silence isn't evasion, it's a conscious act. It's the deliberate decision to value tranquility over pride, to place purpose above ego, and never allow anyone to mistake that for weakness. A person capable of remaining silent while being criticized, challenged, or doubted is one who has mastered self-control. And self-control is the very bedrock of every resilient soul. Silence fosters clarity. When you reduce your speaking, you begin to hear more, particularly from a higher power. The world is loud and its people are loud, but the truth, genuine truth, is quiet. It doesn't need to shout. It waits for the stillness to be revealed. This is why those who perpetually need noise rarely find true peace. For peace resides in the quiet intervals, in the stillness of a moment when you stop chasing and begin to listen. When you learn to embrace silence, you start to perceive what is truly important. You notice who genuinely supports you. You identify what actually deserves your time. And most critically, you find out who you are when there is no one watching. That version of you, the one who doesn't need applause, the one who doesn't wait for approval, that is the authentic you. And when you connect with that version, you begin to build from a place of confidence, not insecurity. You no longer feel the need to shout to be heard. You don't have to scream to be seen. Let your silence be your statement. Let your calm be your reply. Because those who possess true strength never feel the need to prove it. They demonstrate it in their walk, in their breath, in how they navigate storms without complaining about the downpour. Frail people talk about their plans. Strong people simply execute them, quietly, consistently, and powerfully. And when the work is complete, the world takes notice, not because you announced it, but because you demonstrated it. That is real strength. That is the kind of legacy silence constructs. Not a fleeting performance, but a solid foundation. There's a reason for the saying, still waters run deep. The deeper the soul, the less clamor it creates. You won't find a tempest in a shallow puddle, but the ocean is at its most powerful when it is calm. That is the kind of silence you should aim to cultivate. One that is grounded, steadfast, and unshakable. People will attempt to provoke you simply to witness your reaction. They will test your limits to see if you will compromise your character. But when you remain silent, when you cling to your peace with a steady heart, you earn the highest form of respect, not only from others, but from yourself. You come to understand that not everything demands a response. Not everything is worthy of your presence. Silence disquiets people because it compels them to face their own internal noise. When you disengage from arguments, when you no longer react to every insult, when you stay quiet in spaces where you once battled for validation, it communicates a powerful message. I have outgrown this. And growth, authentic growth, is silent. You never hear a tree grow, but one day its roots are so deep and its branches so strong that no storm can move it. That is the effect of silence. It deepens your roots. It fortifies your foundation. It prepares you for storms you cannot yet see. And when those storms come, you won't need to raise your voice. You will simply stand, unmoved. And do not believe for a second that people fail to notice. They see your silence. They feel its weight. They discuss it. Some are baffled by it, while others are intimidated by it. But the right people, those with depth and wisdom, will respect it, because silence causes people to look inward. It presents a mirror to their own noise and chaos. And when they realize they cannot pull you into their turmoil, when your peace remains intact, they start to understand that you are different. You are building something real. You are constructing stability, discipline, and purpose. And these are things that cannot be purchased or faked. They can only be earned. In quiet moments, we have been conditioned to think that strength must be loud, that power needs to be declared to be valid. But silence is the language of the strong. It is the domain of those who have been broken, yet still find a way to stand. Not because they are without words, but because they know that speaking is not always worthwhile. They have learned the importance of letting go, of walking away without resentment, of prioritizing peace over pride. And in that decision, they have discovered something precious and unshakable. They have found a freedom that cannot be stolen by gossip, disrespect, or misunderstanding. Silence cultivates patience, and patience is a formidable tool. In a world that constantly rushes, pushes, and pulls, you become the one who waits, who observes, who listens, and who acts when the time is right, not when emotions dictate. When you move with such intention, you become powerful in the most subtle, deliberate way. You are no longer reacting, you are responding. You are not driven by emotion, you are guided by purpose. And when you finally speak, each word is imbued with significance. People start to listen more intently, not because of your volume, but because they know your words are supported by presence and purpose. That is what silence grants you. It makes your presence profound, even when you utter nothing at all. And that kind of presence is true influence. So do not let the world persuade you that silence equates to surrender. It does not. It signifies your ascent. It means you are learning to build in private, to protect what is important without fanfare, to lead without demanding a spotlight. It means you have ceased trying to explain yourself to people who never valued the explanation to begin with. It means you have uncovered something sacred. You have found the most resilient version of yourself, the one that does not need to be seen to have an impact, the one that does not need to shout to shift the energy in a room. Because your silence simply is. It speaks with more authority than noise ever could. There comes a point in life when you stop opting for noise and start choosing peace. Not because your concern has faded, but because you care more deeply than ever. You care about your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You recognize that you can no longer afford to let anything disrupt your inner calm. Because peace is not merely a feeling. It is a means of survival. It is the process of healing. It is the force that keeps you whole when everything else is trying to pull you apart. And once you have experienced true peace, you never return to begging chaos to understand you. Peace does not imply a perfect life. It means you no longer squander energy on what depletes you. It means you walk away from anything that dishonors your soul, even if it feels familiar. It means you release the people who only appear to take, to drain, and to disappoint. When peace becomes your main priority, subtraction becomes a sacred act. You stop over-explaining. You stop seeking closure. You stop answering calls that only lead to confusion. because your peace is now sacred. And when you begin to treat it as something holy, life starts to change, not only around you, but within you. You wake with clarity, you move with intention. You cease seeking validation from people who never recognized your worth, even when you were standing right before them. You stop trying to prove yourself in rooms you have already outgrown. And when your peace becomes your standard, you become unshakable. You start to measure success by your stillness, not by the noise around you. And that is when you truly step into your power, not the kind that crushes others, but the kind that grounds you and holds you steady through every storm. People will not always comprehend this version of you. They will remark that you have changed. They will say you have grown distant, but what they do not know is the cost of finding this peace. They were not present for the tears, the breaking points, the nights you were just barely holding on. They did not see the healing you fought for in silence. So no, you are not cold. You are careful. You are protective of your soul because you have learned that not everyone deserves access to it. Some people only loved you when you were broken, as it made you easier to control. But that is no longer the case. Now peace is at the center of your life, and peace demands boundaries. You will lose people when you begin to protect your peace, but you must let them go. If your tranquility offends them, they were never meant to be part of your journey. Real love does not arrive with chaos. True friends do not leave you feeling depleted. And if someone is upset because you chose your well-being over their comfort, that is not a burden for you to bear. It is a sign they never truly respected you. Your peace is not up for negotiation. It is not a group decision. It is not a joint project. It is yours. And if someone is disturbing it, they have already revealed everything you need to know. Protecting your peace means saying no. It means being misunderstood. It means walking away even with an aching heart and doing it anyway. There is no greater act of self-love than guarding your peace as if your life depended on it. Because it truly does. The stress, the anxiety, the emotional weariness you have accepted as normal, that is not living. That is the absence of peace, and you have every right to distance yourself from anything that strips you of joy, balance, or hope. You were not designed to exist in a state of defense and survival. You deserve mornings that start with ease, not dread. Days that are filled with focus, not drama. Nights that conclude with gratitude, not racing thoughts. That is the life that peace builds. And it starts the moment you decide it is more important than anything else. You do not need to wait for a breakdown to start protecting your peace. You do not have to wait until your body is exhausted, your heart is numb, or your mind is overwhelmed with noise. Begin now. Start before the burnout. Start before anxiety becomes your default state. Because your peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you create. You build it through boundaries, choices, silence, and by walking away from what does not serve you. It is not an easy path, but it is a worthy one. And once you start choosing peace, you will wonder how you ever lived any other way. The people you once thought you needed, the ones you fought to keep, will no longer seem as important when your soul can finally breathe. You were never meant to carry burdens that are not yours. You were never meant to solve everyone's problems at the expense of your own spirit. You were never intended to be an emotional receptacle for people who never bothered to ask how you were doing. Let that truth settle in. Protecting your energy is not selfish, it is essential. Because when you are depleted, you have nothing left to offer. When your spirit is unsettled, you cannot even hear your own purpose. When you are consumed by the chaos of others, you forget the sound of your own peace. Reclaim it. Reconnect with it. Make peace your foundation once more. Start showing up for yourself in the same way you have always shown up for others. Grant yourself the grace, the patience, and the stillness that you so freely give to everyone else. You do not have to be available for every request. You do not have to justify your distance. Sometimes protecting your peace requires stepping back, going silent, recharging, and returning as a whole person. Because the world does not need more people who are constantly overwhelmed. It needs people who are whole, grounded, and healed. And that begins with you. You cannot control everything around you, but you can control what you permit into your life. Peace is not a coincidence. It is a daily choice. So every time you are tempted to return to what broke you, remind yourself that your peace is your priority. Every time someone tries to pull you into chaos, remember what truly matters. And every time you feel guilty for choosing solitude, for setting boundaries, for creating space, take a breath and affirm the truth. My peace is my priority. Because without peace, success feels empty. Love becomes burdensome. Life feels like a struggle for survival. But with peace, everything flourishes. The heart begins to heal. Purpose starts to emerge. That is the life you are meant for. That is the new standard. Not chaos, not drama, just peace, deep, unshakable, sacred peace. And then one day you grasp something profound. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone has earned the right to hold your heart, to know your dreams, or to witness your vulnerabilities. You spent too long offering the most sacred aspects of yourself to people who only offered fragments in return. You allowed too many to stand close who should have never been near. But now you understand. Your presence is a gift. Your energy is sacred. Your time is valuable, and from this day forward, you will not apologize for protecting them. People will profess to know you, but all they know is the version you permitted them to see. They were merely visitors in your story, not its authors. You owe no one unrestricted access to your emotions, your energy, your healing, or your kindness. Some people only appear to drain you, to distract you, to feed on your light because they never learned to cultivate their own. But you are not a rehabilitation facility for people who refuse to grow. You are not a sanctuary for those who consistently disrupt your peace. And you are finished with making yourself smaller to fit into spaces that never acknowledge your worth. You do not need to keep explaining yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. You do not need to keep opening doors for people who only know how to enter and create chaos. Some will mistake your kindness for weakness. Some will interpret your silence as agreement. But what they fail to comprehend is that you are not silent for lack of things to say. You are silent because they no longer deserve to hear your voice. Not everyone is granted a seat at your table. Not everyone belongs in the presence of royalty. You are not being cold. You are not being cruel. You are being selective, and there is nothing wrong with that. You have learned through pain and disappointment that access to you is a privilege, not a right. The people who genuinely care will not need to constantly prove their place in your life, nor will they make you question it. And those who repeatedly wound you with their presence do not deserve another chance to inflict more damage. Let them go. Not everyone is equipped to handle the weight of who you truly are. And it is not your job to shrink to fit their limited perception. You are not a convenience. You are not a supporting character in someone else's drama. You are not here to fix problems that were never yours to begin with. The moment you start guarding your access is the moment you start protecting your peace, your purpose, and your destiny. That is when clarity arrives. And with that clarity, you begin to see who is in your life because they value you and who is there because they need something from you. That awareness becomes your power. That is when you begin to elevate, because boundaries are not about excluding people. They are about filtering what is real from what is not. They distinguish the genuine from the opportunistic, the loyal from those who only take. You do not owe your vulnerability to everyone. You do not have to share your story with people who have not earned your trust. Some people only want to get close to gather your truth and twist it, to use your softness as a tactic and define your strength on their terms. But this is not about becoming bitter. This is about becoming wiser, stronger, and more grounded in your identity. You are permitted to say, no, you don't get that part of me anymore. And when you declare that, when you reclaim your power, you sometimes have to sit with yourself and ask, why am I allowing people who've done nothing for me to occupy so much space in my life? That's when the realization hits. It was never about the duration of your acquaintance. It was always about how they treated you. Loyalty is not measured in years. It is measured by presence, by consistency, by how someone shows up when it truly counts. Some people have been in your life for years yet never truly supported you. And others entered your life unexpectedly, loved you with pure intentions, and respected your boundaries as if it were second nature. That is who earns access. That is who receives the key to your world. You have been too available for too long, too understanding, too forgiving. But now you must operate differently. Your love is rare. Your presence is healing. Your spirit is powerful. And you cannot keep giving it to people who mishandle it and then wonder why you feel so empty. You are not obligated to answer every call, respond to every message, or attend every event. You have the right to disappear, to rest, to create space, not from a place of rudeness, but from a place of self-preservation. Because once you experience the kind of peace that comes from protecting your access, you will never allow just anyone back in. Observe how your life shifts when you cease trying to be everything to everyone. Notice how your energy changes when you stop pouring into people who cannot hold what you offer. You will gain clarity, strength, and purpose. And the right people, the ones who truly care, will respect your boundaries and honor your space. They will not resort to guilt trips or manipulation. They will love you in your silence, support you through your growth, and never make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. Because they understand, they see your value, and more importantly, they deserve to be there. From this moment on, you owe no one a backstage pass to your soul just because they applauded you once. Some people are meant to remain in the balcony. They were never intended to cross the threshold of your heart. Do not hand out VIP access to people who treat you like general admission. Be kind, be compassionate, but be discerning. Because not everyone deserves access to you. And that is not arrogance. That is self-respect. That is wisdom. That is power. And now that you know better, you must move better. Sometimes life removes everything so you can see what truly matters. The phone becomes silent. The crowd disperses. The noise fades. And all that remains is you in the quiet. That is where growth starts. Not when everyone is applauding, not when life is easy, but when you are alone with your truth, stripped of all distractions, with no applause, no performance, no audience. Just you, your pain, your story, and the choices you make from that place. That silence is not a punishment. It is a preparation. That is where the most profound transformation begins. In a crowd, it is easy to pretend. It is simple to blend in, to wear a mask, to play a role. But when you are alone, the mask comes off, the performance concludes, and the real you emerges. The version of you that you have been avoiding, the version that holds the truth, it is uncomfortable, it is vulnerable, but it is essential. Because real growth never feels like growth in the moment. It feels like pain, like confusion, like being alone. But beneath it all, something sacred is unfolding. A seed is being nourished, a foundation is being established, and strength is being forged. Transformation is occurring in the silence. You do not discover your strength amidst noise. You find it in the quiet, hidden struggles no one ever witnesses. You find it when you are crying at 2 a.m, but still manage to rise the next day and face the world. You find it when your phone is silent, yet you still choose to speak life into yourself. You find it when no one checks on you, but you continue to show up anyway. That is what real growth looks like. That is maturity. That is the process of becoming. Because like a caterpillar, transformation does not happen before an audience. It happens alone in the dark, enveloped in silence and stillness. And when it emerges, it is something new. That is what isolation does. It transforms you in private so you can reintroduce yourself with power. In isolation, you begin to learn things about yourself you never noticed before. You start to uncover your triggers. You realize which wounds never fully healed. You confront the boundaries you failed to set. You come face to face with your habits, your patterns, your choices. And through that confrontation, you find clarity. You discover who you have been, who you are, and who you are meant to become. Some of the environments you once considered comfort were actually cages. Some of the people you called support were merely distractions. And sitting with that truth may sting, but it also liberates you. Because isolation is not destroying you. It is dismantling the version of you that was never meant to endure. It is removing the false beliefs you use for survival. It is shaking loose the crutches you leaned on for too long. It is exposing the neglected areas of your life. And yes, it may feel like everything is falling apart, but what is truly happening is that everything false is being stripped away so that the real you can rise. Isolation does not just reveal the truth, it gives birth to transformation. Those late nights, those silent tears, those moments you felt unseen, that is the price of elevation. And people may not understand your silence. They might ask where you have gone, why you have changed, why you are not the same. But you will not always have the words to explain it. Because what happened in isolation was not for them. It was for you. It was sacred. It was personal. It was divine. While they were pursuing noise, you were being molded in stillness. While they were seeking validation, you were building a foundation. While they were being loud, you were becoming solid. You did the work in silence. And now your results will speak more powerfully than any explanation ever could. Growth will cost you some people. It will cost you your comfort. It will require you to sit in silence and face questions you would rather ignore. Sometimes it will feel like you are losing, like you are missing out. But you are not. You are shedding. You are elevating. You are stepping into a version of yourself that does not require constant applause or external approval. You have peace now. You have alignment. You have purpose. And none of these things can be bought. They are earned in the quiet. That is what isolation gave you. And once you have grown in that kind of solitude, you will never return to the noise in the same way. You will stop craving shallow conversations. You will stop tolerating half-hearted affection. You will stop chasing things that do not nourish your spirit. You will move with intention, speak with depth, and think with clarity. Because once you have tasted your own strength in silence, you will not let anything pull you away from it again. You become protective of your peace. You become intentional with your time. You become selective with your energy. And that version of you, that grounded, focused, powerful version, is the one who changes everything. That is the one who walks in purpose and refuses to settle. So the next time life grows quiet, do not panic. Lean into it. Embrace it. Trust that something holy is happening beneath the surface. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. Let the crowd disperse. Let the distractions fade. Let the silence shape you. Because in the stillness, your true power is being born. And when you emerge from that season, you will not just have survived. You will realize that isolation was not your breakdown. It was your breakthrough. You will not need to explain your silence. You will not feel the urge to justify your distance. Because real transformation does not require an announcement. The people who are meant to understand will feel it the moment you enter a room. They will sense your strength. They will recognize that you have been through something sacred. So let them wonder, let them whisper, let them miss the old version of you. Because the one that is now emerging does not chase, does not beg, does not break. This one builds. This one stands firm. This one walks with clarity and intention. And now you are building with real focus. Not the kind of focus that simply ignores distractions, but the kind that remembers who you are in every moment. The kind that chooses again and again not to be pulled in every direction. Because when your mind is scattered, your spirit grows weary. But when your focus is rooted in truth, you move with purpose. You speak with conviction. You walk with a power that cannot be shaken. Focus is not about closing your eyes to the world. It is about seeing with clarity what matters most. It is about sacred vision, seeing beyond the noise, beyond fleeting thrills, beyond the expectations of others. And when you lock in on your purpose, when you stay aligned with what you were created for, that is when everything begins to shift. That is when your soul rises to meet your destiny. Alignment does not happen by chance. It is not some magical moment that appears from nowhere. Alignment occurs when your values, your choices, and your direction begin to move in harmony. And that only comes with focus. The world is loud. Temptation is loud. Chaos is loud. But truth does not scream. Purpose does not shout. They whisper. And if you are not focused, you will miss them. You will miss the signs intended for you. You will miss the opportunities designed for you. You will miss the divine timing that reveals itself only to the still in the present. Focus is how you hear God in a world full of noise. Focus is how you remember your purpose when everything around you tries to distract you from it. And in that remembrance, in that clarity, alignment begins. But the truth is, focus has a cost. It costs comfort. It costs convenience. It costs relationships that once made sense but no longer support the person you are becoming. You cannot be everything to everyone and still remain aligned with your assignment. You cannot live with a scattered mind and expect to walk in clarity. Focus demands boundaries. Focus demands stillness. Focus demands discipline. Because alignment is not just about what you bring into your life. It is also about what you are willing to release. The wrong people, the harmful patterns, the misplaced priorities, they must all be let go. And in that release, real strength is born. As your focus sharpens, life begins to clear up. What once felt confusing starts to make sense. What was blocked starts to open. Not because you forced your way through, but because your spirit finally rose to meet the level of your calling. You do not have to chase what is meant for you. When you are aligned with it, it will flow toward you. It will meet you where your energy is concentrated. But you will not feel that flow if your attention is scattered. Your energy is sacred. What you focus on expands. If you focus on chaos, chaos grows. If you focus on problems, they multiply. But if you focus on peace, peace deepens. If you focus on purpose, your path becomes clearer. Focus shifts your entire reality. People may say you have changed. They may say you have become distant or cold. And perhaps they are right. Perhaps you have changed, because once you understand what is at stake, you stop playing small. You stop showing up in spaces that drain you. You stop over-explaining to people who are already committed to misunderstanding you. Focus refines you. It helps you distinguish what is urgent from what is important. You begin to understand that not every call needs to be answered. Not every argument needs your voice. Not every door deserves your presence. You move from reacting to responding, from being pulled in every direction to being rooted in the right one, from constant hustle to intentional harmony. That is when alignment starts to feel like home. When your inner peace matches your outer actions. When your daily choices reflect your highest values. When your habits support your healing. When your goals reveal your growth. When your prayers align with your steps. You feel it in your body. You see it in your peace. Life stops feeling forced and starts feeling fluid. Because you are no longer pretending. You are no longer scattered. You are focused. And that focus builds momentum. That alignment creates grace. That commitment attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right doors. All because you stopped looking outward and started looking inward. When you are truly focused, you stop craving validation. You stop needing applause. Because you know that the work you are doing in private will manifest in public when the time is right. Focus teaches patience. Focus teaches trust. It reminds you that just because it has not happened yet does not mean it is not coming. Just because people do not see the vision does not mean it is not real. You keep building, you keep believing, you keep showing up without needing a crowd. Because alignment is not about applause, it is about your assignment. And focus keeps you faithful to that assignment. Let others chase what is trending. You stay grounded in truth. Let others move for attention. You move for purpose. Let others scroll, wander, react. You stay rooted, aware, intentional. That is what separates the distracted from the disciplined, the noisy from the necessary, the confused from the called. Focus is how you protect your peace. It is how you stop giving your time and energy to things that do not serve your destiny. Because not everything deserves your reaction. Not everything requires your presence. And once you know that, once you live that, you become steady. You become clear. You become powerful. The more focused you are, the more sensitive you become to misalignment. You feel it faster. You recognize it quicker. That conversation does not feel right. That opportunity seems off. That environment drains your spirit, and you trust your inner signal. You do not second guess that voice saying, "This is not for you." You honor it. You protect it. That is the power of focus. It reconnects you with your inner compass. It teaches you to stop asking everyone else for direction and start following your own wisdom, your own discernment, your own divine alignment. So do not fear the quiet. Do not resist the pull to go deeper. Do not shy away from choosing intention over attention, because that choice, that focus is what leads you home to yourself. The moment you begin to focus, things start falling into place. Not because the world changes, but because you do. Your mind clears, your heart steadies, your steps become intentional, and alignment naturally follows. Focus becomes your shadow, quiet but constant, guiding you toward everything you have been praying for. Talk is simple, but action is paramount. You can say all the right things, share the quotes, make promises, and give speeches. But if your life does not reflect those words, they mean nothing. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget what you did. Your character is defined by your consistent actions, not your occasional statements. Genuine people do not need to announce themselves. They do not need to declare their intentions repeatedly. They just show up day after day, doing the work and letting their discipline speak more loudly than any words ever could. If you seek respect, stop trying to persuade people with speeches. Let your work speak for itself. Let your consistency demonstrate your focus. Let your changed behavior confirm your growth. Let your peace be the evidence of your healing. When your actions align with your truth, validation becomes irrelevant. People feel the shift. They notice the energy. Your presence begins to speak for you, not with noise, but with authenticity. In a world full of distractions, silence backed by movement is a powerful force. Everyone is talking, online, in conversations, in rooms where nothing ever changes. But very few are genuinely moving. Very few are building. Very few are making sacrifices for the future they claim to desire. If you are serious about becoming the person you were meant to be, you must operate differently. Do not argue about your worth. Deliver with excellence. Do not beg for support. Become undeniable. Do not over-explain your journey. Walk it with purpose. Those making the most noise often have the least to offer. But those who move in quiet, who remain focused, are the ones reshaping their lives. Your actions are a reflection of your mindset. If your steps are disorganized, your thoughts are disorganized. If your behavior lacks consistency, so do your beliefs. But when you are truly locked in, when your intentions match your execution, people can sense it. You can enter a room without saying a word, and your presence will convey everything. It will say, I am disciplined. It will say, I have grown through pain. It will say, I am not here to impress. I am here to fulfill my purpose. There is a quiet power in that, the kind of power that endures. Eventually, you reach a stage where you stop explaining yourself and start evolving, where you stop talking about the grind and start living it, where your life becomes your evidence. You realize you do not have to prove anything to anyone. Your growth, your healing, your transformation, they will speak more loudly than anything you could ever say. Let people assume. Let them talk. While they are distracted, you are focused. While they are gossiping, you are building. While they are watching, you are working. And one day they will look up and realize you have created something powerful. But by then, you will be too focused to even notice. Because real success is not loud. Real healing is not dramatic. True purpose does not scream, it moves, it builds. And when your actions speak, people listen differently. They do not just hear you, they feel you. They know you have paid the price. They know you have walked through fire and emerged stronger. They know you have stayed up late, risen early, pushed through the silence, and never stopped showing up. That kind of energy is undeniable. You will not need to chase respect. You will not need to force opportunities. They will come not because of what you said, but because of what you did. That is what alignment rewards, a life that speaks for itself. But here is the reality. Action requires discipline, and discipline is rare. Anyone can create a plan. Anyone can say they are ready for change, but only the strong follow through. Only the focused stay the course. When the initial excitement fades, only the committed continue moving when no one is cheering. Because this is not about performing for attention. This is about becoming who you were created to be, even when no one is watching. That is where integrity is forged. That is where real strength is developed. And eventually, all that work done in silence begins to bloom for the world to see. But it always starts in the shadows. Every time you show up when you do not feel like it, you are making a statement. Every time you say no to a distraction, you are declaring your focus. Every time you stay true to your values, you are leading without words. That is real influence. That is true leadership. Not the kind that demands applause, but the kind that earns deep respect. And that is what separates those who talk from those who live it. Because anyone can speak, very few can become. But if you are one of the few who do, your life becomes a legacy. So stop trying to convince anyone. Stop over-explaining. Stop waiting for others to understand. Just keep showing up. Keep building. Keep becoming. Let your actions speak for your growth. Let your silence carry the weight of your strength. Let your presence reflect the depth of your power. Because the moment you stop talking and start truly living, the world will feel the shift. And the ones meant to walk with you on your journey will recognize it. Not because you told them, but because your life revealed a truth too powerful to ignore. You spend so much of your life pursuing things, chasing love, validation, success, and people who were never meant to stay. You run yourself into the ground, believing that the more you hustle, prove, and give, the closer you will get to happiness. But what you often overlook is that the act of chasing implies it is still running from you. Peace does not reside in pursuit. It lives in presence. Growth does not come from begging. It comes from becoming. And when you stop looking outward and finally turn your focus inward, everything begins to change. You do not need to chase what is already yours. You only need to grow into the version of you that is ready to receive it. We have been conditioned to believe that constant struggle is a prerequisite for being seen, that unless we are endlessly proving ourselves, our worth will be overlooked. So we exhaust our spirits trying to feel temporarily needed. But the truth is, when you stop chasing approval, you unlock authenticity. When you stop chasing connection, you attract alignment. Because when you are whole within, the right things begin to move toward you. You do not have to force them. You do not have to beg for them. They simply flow to you because they match your frequency. You were never meant to spend your life convincing anyone to love you, notice you, or believe in you. That is not your mission. Your mission is to become so rooted in truth, faith, and personal growth that everything intended for you arrives without resistance. Chasing stems from a sense of lack. It sends a message to the world that says, I don't believe I am enough on my own, so I must pursue something to complete me. But when you stop chasing and start becoming, you enter a place of power. You step into abundance. You become a magnet for the miracles that were already waiting for you to align. Think about the things you once forced and how they never lasted. The people you begged to stay were often the ones who left you the most broken. That is because chasing creates pressure, and pressure without peace eventually leads to collapse. But when you release control, when you surrender the need to force outcomes, you finally create space for alignment. That relationship, that career, that opportunity, it will come not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person who could truly receive and sustain it. The goal is not just to find success. The goal is to grow into someone who can carry it with grace. Real transformation occurs in the process of becoming. It is in the quiet choices. The early mornings you got up when you did not feel like it. The nights you chose healing over distraction. The moments you selected peace over chaos. That is where power is built. Every small decision, every quiet victory contributes to becoming someone who does not chase blessings, but creates a life worthy of holding them. A healed soul does not run after what it belongs to it. A focused mind does not get lost in distractions. A whole heart does not beg. It attracts what aligns. It creates what lasts. Becoming is not for show. It is not about proving anything. It is about preparing. You do not have to announce your transformation. Your energy will speak for you. You do not have to convince people you have changed. Your presence will reveal it. When you stop trying to be chosen and start choosing yourself, everything shifts. Your boundaries become stronger. Your time becomes sacred. Your focus sharpens. The noise begins to fade, and in its place, clarity rises. That is when everything that once felt out of reach starts moving in your direction. The world may try to convince you that you are behind, that you are not enough until you achieve a certain status, gain a title, or earn applause. But do not let it rush you. Do not fall into the trap of chasing things that do not nourish your soul. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are not lost, you are being refined. And when you choose the path of growth over performance, the timing of your life begins to make sense. Delays stop feeling like punishments and start revealing themselves as preparation. And you will come to understand that what is truly meant for you will never pass you by. You do not need to chase anyone. You do not need to chase anything. When you are aligned with your purpose, it all finds you. Your purpose will place you exactly where you need to be. So shift your focus away from the race and invest your energy into becoming. Become disciplined, become grounded, become faithful, become whole, and watch how everything begins to respond to the version of you that shows up with intention. People will feel the change. Opportunities will notice the shift. And most importantly, you will feel it within. You will walk with a quiet confidence, not because you sought approval from the world, but because you finally gave it to yourself. There is a profound freedom that comes when you stop running after everything. When you realize your only responsibility is to rise, to evolve, and to stay rooted in what is true. Everything else, the love, the peace, the purpose, meets you along the way. Not when you beg for it, not when you chase it, but when you become the kind of person who is ready to hold it. And readiness does not come from urgency, it comes from consistency, from showing up when no one is watching, from doing the inner work quietly, from becoming someone whose worth does not waver, even in the silence. That is the shift from desperation to dignity, from needing to knowing, from chasing to being. So stop running, stop searching, stop convincing, start becoming, start walking as if you already wear the crown. Start showing up as if the door is already open. And even if it has not, become the kind of person who would walk through it with grace, humility, and unwavering strength. Because the moment you stop chasing and start becoming, that is when everything begins to fall into place. Not because you forced it to, but because you finally created the space to receive it. And now, here you are. After the silence, after the healing, after the breaking and the rebuilding. What you have been through was not a step-by-step guide. It was not a checklist. It was a transformation, a return to self, a quiet revolution in your mindset. This is not about performing for the world. It is about protecting your peace. It is about becoming who you were always meant to be, before the noise grew loud, before the world taught you to chase what was never meant to be forced. It is about remembering that silence holds power, that solitude brings clarity, that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. You are not here to convince people to see your value. You are here to live it, to breathe it, to embody it. There comes a time when the loudest thing you can do is say nothing. When your silence becomes your strength, your boundary, your safe haven. When you realize peace is not something you find, it is something you choose. In how you respond, in what you release, in who you allow into your life. It is not about bitterness, it is about ownership. And real power grows in those quiet moments, the ones where you choose discipline over distraction, where you lean into solitude instead of shallow connection, where you stop explaining and start evolving in silence. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Not everyone can handle the fullness of your healing, your growth, your mission. And that is okay. The ones who are meant for you will not be threatened by your boundaries. They will be drawn to your strength. Because when you stop chasing and start becoming, everything begins to move in alignment. Not because you demanded it, but because you became the version of you that was finally ready to release what no longer fits, ready to grow into what always was, ready to become who you were created to be. That is when the shift happens. That is when the right doors open. That is when you realize you never had to beg, never had to chase, never had to prove. You just had to believe in your worth, in your becoming, in the process. So keep showing up, even when no one sees it. Keep growing, even when it is uncomfortable. Keep healing, even when it feels impossible. And above all, keep choosing yourself over and over again, because that is when everything changes. Not when you meet the world's standards, but when you finally rise into your own. The peace, the clarity, the alignment, it all follows the moment you decide to be fully and unapologetically yourself. Quietly, powerfully, intentionally. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for choosing growth. May you continue to move in grace, to rise in purpose, and to live with truth. Stay strong, stay grounded, and above all, stay true to who you are becoming.